Welcome to our June community meeting. Any apologies? All clear? And public forum, we have one member for our public forum with Rob. Good morning, Rob.
Good morning. I'm speaking today on behalf of the community pool. I'm going to read this statement. It's probably easier to do that than try just to do it. In 2019-20, as you know, the new elected community pool management agreed that the current pool facilities and pool itself was in dire need of an upgrade and re-establishment. 2021, after extensive investigation, professional advice by a consultancy company, we came up with a presentation to the community board and to the local community to install heat pumps, upgrade the chlorine gas system, refurbish the main pool, and develop a therapeutic pool. The local community agreed in 2021-2031 long-term plan to support a $500,000 grant to a targeted rate which increased the average rating units in Whangamatā by $90 per household. It was agreed that we'd split that over 2 years to $45 per year. The first year we installed heat pumps. They maintained the water temperature to steady 27 degrees, and it's dramatically improved the performance and patronage of the pool. For the first time in our history, we were able to operate for a full 12 months of the year. In 2022, because of the increased patronage and implementation of the successful Learn to Swim and aquarobics program, the pool management committee agreed to the building of a purpose-built therapeutic Learn to Swim pool. Reduced drawings, pricing was obtained, and a funding strategy was developed. We did intend to present that funding strategy to the meeting on the 9th of May to the community board. That meeting was cancelled or postponed. The purpose of that was to outline the strategy intention to lever the remaining funds, $242,000 that was left of the $500,000 towards raising just over $750,000 to complete the refurbishment of the main pool, develop and learn to swim a therapeutic pool. Our understanding, the management committee's understanding, was that the grant was available to the end of June 2023. And after that, it would be transferred. If it wasn't used, it would be transferred into the retained Whangamatā Community Board retained earnings reserve account. This did not, however, guarantee that those funds would be automatically available to the pool project. It now appears that a decision has been made that some or all of the returned earnings have been redirected into the council's resilient recovery fund, and I'm not sure if that's the case, but I'm just stating it in that way. We don't understand why or accept that the funds raised through a community targeted rate for a specific project and one that's still in process can be absorbed into council coffers without any consultation. The suggested timing of the community board's next meeting on the 1st of August will be problematic for us because our application to the Lotteries Board opens on the 19th of July. They will require confirmation that the community pool has those funds secured. The remaining $242,000 is remaining in this grant is crucial to the project. If we haven't got the money, it doesn't happen. Nothing happens, the pool stays as it is. There's no further refurbishment and development at all. To facilitate the ongoing project as a sign of good faith, the Whangamatā Community Pool Management Committee required TCDC to agree to one of the following. One, while receiving an invoice from the community pool, transfer the remaining $242,000 into the Whangamatā Community Swimming Pool account, which is tagged for pool refurbishment. And we do this prior to the end of the council's financial year, 30th of June. Number two, TCDC confirmed that the remaining grant of $242,000 will remain in the council's financial year, replaced in the Whangamatā Community Board retained earnings account, but tagged to the pool's project and be available upon required after June 30th, 2023. Number three, the TCDC, prior to the end of the council's financial year, provide written confirmation to the community board and to the Whangamatā Community Pool Incorporated that the value of the remaining grant of $242,000 is secure and available to support the pool's future development project and is available as required. We make this submission on behalf of those who supported the 2021-2031 long-term plan to fund the Whangamatā Community Pool refurbishment and development. It's made in good faith, integrity, fairness and honesty. I'm not promised in that means. Thank you, that's all I've got. Thanks, Alan.
Any questions for Rob?
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, Rob.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of the pool, how it's just, the use is just really increased dramatically. And the training for the surf club and all other swimming facilities and old people and therapeutic, it's just extraordinary. The chiefs, and I just salute what you've done.
Thank you. We just want to keep going.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for that. Thank you. So the Whangamatā Community Board receives Rob Boston's submission and his table material and correspondence in relation to that. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please?
I'll second. I'll move it.
Mr. Chair,
Sorry, hang on.
just a question for Rob, if I may. Is Rob still there?
Yeah.
Morning, Rob. Rob, can you, for my benefit, just give me a bit of an update on the status of the other funding that you've got? And you're obviously working with other funding agencies. Could you just give us a bit of a snapshot of where that sits and the interaction between the council grant and the other funding? What's the connection there?
What we've done is we've priced to build a therapeutic learn to swim pool for about 360,000, and we need to refurbish the main pool. It needs painting or some alternative finish. And to fit out the new learn to swim therapeutic pool with all of the bits and pieces you need for a pool like that, the pool covers and the lane ropes and all bits and pieces. That's our total plan. So we've got funding application to Lion Foundation, and we've already made that application. We're applying for $75,000 from those people. They've told us that that's pretty well the right amount to apply for based upon their criteria. We've got an application into the Lotteries Board for 400,000. They've told us that we wouldn't be eligible for the limit, which is $500,000, and that we should be targeting somewhere in the region of about 400. So that's what we've done. When we put all that together, we have a contractor, a local contractor in town who's prepared to build a learn to swim therapeutic pool. And all up, it's about $750,000. So the $242,000 that we have remaining is the lever that we use with lotteries to put our third of the funds up for that application. So without having that fund, without having that finance available, we can't make an application for the Lotteries Board. So that was the whole plan then, was to retain that funding and lever applications to those two main organisations. We're obviously going to put charities and Lion Foundation. Sorry, I meant to say, I'm not sure if I've got that right. The 75 grand is going to Trust Whangamatā. Sorry, I've got that.
Trust Whangamatā, not Lion Foundation, yeah?
Lion Foundation, they support us with the fit out equipment, bits and pieces like.
Okay.
So if, for example, I mean, funding is very tight at the moment, both with Trust Whangamatā and lotteries. If, for example, we were the funding that we were looking for, say the 750 wasn't available, then we would look at either building the learn to swim pool or refurbishing the main pool. So the funding that was available will be definitely used for either one of those two projects. But the priority for us at the moment is to lever an application to those two main funding agencies to try and get that 750 grand.
Okay. So have lotteries with that 400K, have lotteries specifically said that if you don't get this council grant confirmed, then that 400 is off the table?
Well, we won't have enough to put our third up. We have to put a third of the funding that we're required up. So we've got, the pool's got probably close to 80,000 in our accounts, but there's a reserve there of 50, and we've got bits of operating that we're waiting for till the end of the year. So we just won't be able to meet that funding.
Okay, so thanks, Rob. That's a big help. That just gives me some clarity around the balance of the funding, and I really appreciate your information on that. It's a big help. Thank you.
In the email I sent you, I think I'll certainly send it to the council officer, because the whole proposal, the drawings, the plans, the funding applications, the strategies, it's all in those documents.
Thank you, Rob.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
It's open. It's open.
It's open.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for that. Next on the list is items that aren't on the agenda. Are there any items to be brought up on the agenda?
I'd like to put this report on the agenda and vote for it right now.
This one here,
So that's a community pool one, yeah.
You can't
can't do.
can't do that without a council staff report.
Why do we need a council staff report?
Because you cannot make a decision on something like this without a council staff report going into the public agenda.
So is that set in stone? What's the legislation for that?
No canary has out of that.
We're all fully informed of this. We've debated it for years. We know more than the staff member. So tell me where in the legislation we can't pass this. You name it.
We'll just wait for Ari from governance to give us that advice.
Okay, Ariana, I'll have it.
Kia ora koutou, board. Sorry, I've been in and out, so I did not hear that questioning.
The question was for items not on the agenda, I wanted to put on the agenda Rob's report that we vote for one of the three options that he's suggesting, and we do that now. And why should we get a further report when this is a very good report, and there's been other reports that council have already received.
So this is a report, Ari, that Rob's just presented at public forum. Rob Boston from the Whangamatā Community Board.
And the question was, Ariana, is we were told we cannot do anything until we get a council report from the council. And I'm saying, where's the legislation for that? We are fully informed of this. We have been fully informed because we know more than any council staff member, and we don't need their assistance, to be honest. So where in legislation are we bound to wait for a report from a council staff member?
So I'm not privy to the details of what Rob has sent in, and just so you know, so I don't even know if it falls within the terms of reference. But this is not a minor matter for discussion, so it would be something that would require, options to do with the decision. But you're saying that there is 3 options that he has given?
Well, basically, different ways to get back the money that the local people have paid for. So that is needed before the end of this month, to know that we have security on that, because it's sort of been taken away from us. We've used half of it. We've paid the money. It's a special specific rate for the local people here. We paid it, and we just want to have that back. And so we can confirm that is the case. That it's as simple as that. That's not rocket science. It's straightforward. So you tell me where the legislation is to stop us voting on it now.
Sorry, I really don't know anything about the report. So would you be able to send me some details around it so I can have a look?
Can read it out so that she's got it.
I could scan it through to you, Ari.
Yeah, so I can make a considered response.
Yeah, sorry, Ariana, if I could
Because-
just put the chair.
Thank you.
Rob has already presented a very detailed report to council, and this is just adding to that report that he's delivered that to council. And it shows the drawings, the funding model and everything like that. So that information has been presented to council. And I think he's just trying to put here some options for the board if they want to take an option to say that's a better option going forward for him to secure this funding.
Okay, so if you wouldn't mind, Eileen, would you be able to send that through to me so I can have a look? Because I do not feel comfortable with making a response to this when I've not seen the information. And can we just delay this particular matter until I have, can give you the right information in regards to legislation?
Stay, yes, we will do that.
Can I ask?
Thank you.
Can I ask a supplementary question which might be of also assistance to us, and that is, what is the authority for a local funded rate being lost and not attributed to that purpose? So if we've had a targeted rate that says, here's some money for a swimming pool, and the community is targeted with that rate and has paid it, what authority does council have to take that money and attribute it to a different purpose?
Yeah, I can't answer that one for you, but I can certainly get an answer for you, but that is something that doesn't fall within the scope of what I know.
By the end of the meeting. So we'll
Yeah,
move
so
on.
if you, yeah, thank you, and I will get an answer back for you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any conflicts of interest that has to be mentioned? Okay, minutes for confirmation, minutes of our last meeting for confirmation.
I move they be accepted. I'll second them.
All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Request to retain the 2022-2023 community grants for the Arts Collective, the Whangamatā Surf Lifesaving and the Whangamatā Ratepayers Association.
I move they all be accepted. Take the second.
Being moved and seconded, all in favour of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Carried, thank you. The new lease for the Aiken Road Sports Reserve, Whangamatā.
I move that be accepted.
Seconded. Dennis, thank you. All in favour, please say aye.
Can we get some discussion?
Sorry.
Can we have some discussion?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So in earlier meetings, we've been talking about supporting some of the people who use the community halls and waiving their fee and how we deal with that. Just interested here that the scouts have to pay a fee. I'm just wondering if there's any, I mean, why do they pay a fee?
It's Nicole online.
Yes,
I mean,
good morning.
Good morning, Nicole. Did you hear that question asked by member Mark?
Yes, I did. And it's because they are a community group, and a community group under our leases and licenses to occupy policy is charged that amount of $350 per year. So it's in line with our council policy.
Well, you normally apply for a grant to pay your bill.
Yeah, so it's roundabout again, isn't it?
It's going around.
Yeah, round and round. I don't know what they get for it, but anyway. Okay.
That's been passed for that. So the next one is the Pottery New Shelter Notice Board and request for discretionary funds in relation to the construction of that. Any comment from other comment?
Yes.
Yeah.
In the attachment A to that, the amount requested is $6,717. And in the breakdown, there's a traffic management fee of $2,000.
Yes.
Part of their I think their report was that they would use volunteers, I think, to install the signposts.
Yes.
And I'd like to see perhaps volunteers and a few road cones to avoid the need to paying traffic management of $2,000. Quite simply, in that area, that would seem over the top to me.
I take that point, and I was actually going to ask Ed Valley, is Ed on at the moment?
That's it.
Good morning, Ed. The question to ask in relation to that traffic management was that in a future matter, you have said that a temporary traffic management under the code of practice for temporary traffic management. The powers are currently delegated to the roading manager. And I wondered why in that case, this could not be used. I mean, a factory doesn't have a large traffic flow or anything like that. And I wondered whether you can give approval in relation to that. We can use local means to do the traffic control.
Through the chair, no. It's a statutory duty for council to conform with the traffic management laws. I do not have a delegated authority to bypass national legislation in this matter.
Ed, can you send a copy of that legislation, please? Because every time I've looked at what I've quoted legislation, there always seems to be somewhat different versions. So could you send a copy of that, please?
Certainly I can. There is only one version of the Code of Practice for Temporary Traffic Management.
Okay, well, can you send that?
Certainly, yes.
It was just in the, when you speak about the traffic calming one, Ed, that you said that there is a delegated authority there. So what is that then?
That, through the chair, that refers to the delegated authority of the roading manager to authorise road closures under the Code of Practice. This allows me as an officer of the council to effectively choose if a road closure is justified and to authorise it.
So is the road closure justified for this area with such a minimal traffic flow, just for the construction of that off the road?
Through the chair, I would not say that a road closure would be justified, and the closure of the road to construct that shelter and the sign isn't what's being discussed here. The traffic management that would be required would be the traffic management around the site as people are working in it to protect them from the possibility of harm.
Given what you've just said there, that seems fine, but why can't, as part of the plan to implement that, we have volunteers with stop-go signs and put out some road cones and save the cost of $2,000 to an outside supplier for 1 day's work or whatever? It just seems ludicrous.
It's $4 for the construction equipment, Ed, and $2,000 on top of that, just to for the construction for the road closure.
Through the chair, I appreciate that. Any person undertaking works for temporary traffic management has to be suitably qualified. They have to have their ticket effectively. They also have to have liability insurance for working within the road reserve. If members of the community have those qualifications and can prove that they have that third-party liability insurance, then they can undertake that work. We're not aware that they have either the qualification or the liability insurance.
Do any of the council members have that? Sorry, not members, any of the council staff have that?
Technically, I do. A number of council staff do.
Well, can we have one of them come along?
It's volunteer week.
Well, as part of your duties, just come along and save the community $2,000. It's not going to cost $2,000 of your time to do that, is it?
It would probably be cheaper for an STMS to do it under a traffic management firm than me to come out there. We would still have to provide the signs. We would still have to provide the coning.
And I think, haven't we got a trailer and Thames with all the stuff on?
No, we do. Sorry, through the chair. No, that trailer was discontinued because it was not being used. That was I believe it was financed by Thames Community Board with the intention that it would be used around events in the Thames area. But the cones and the trailer have now been sold.
Mr. Chairman,
And in any event, the existing structure needs to be removed, and according to the report that I have here, says that it's a council responsibility and would need traffic management at the same time. So is this something that, what's the council's plan in terms of traffic management around the removal of the shed? The current one,
Through the chair, at the moment, the shed is listed as a dangerous structure. Council has a statutory duty to remove it. If we choose to do that in isolation, then we would pay for traffic management as part of that works. If it's done as part of the overall scope of works, we could potentially contribute to it, but it would only be a proportion of the works. I'm not saying that we wouldn't do it. What I'm saying is that there is a cost in providing traffic management to this to facilitate these works.
Mayor Len has got his hand up. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, let me just say that I understand completely the frustration that is behind this discussion, and it goes to a much, much bigger picture that we are discussing, not just with this council, but with LGNZ and every other council in the country, and that is the overall cost of traffic management to councils and to the work that is being done and the costs of the traffic management across the board. And I'll give you an example. Auckland recently said that Auckland Council, that they spend $149 million a year on traffic management procedures. And that's contracted out to third-party companies. We do the same. Council has no staff, no works staff whatsoever. Everything that we do is contracted out, and it has to be done. And you need to understand the position that Ed and his team in. They are required to follow the law and adhere to the safety procedures, but it comes at a cost. And at the moment, we have no options. It is definitely something that, as a wider council, we're looking at. Can we do things better? Is there more efficient and less expensive ways of doing things? But that's not going to be fixed overnight. So at the moment, we don't have any other options. And when it comes to community events, for example, we've gone down that road before, and it's something we continue to discuss. Could we do things with volunteers and community groups? And that is a discussion that we continue to have. But at the moment, we're kind of backed into a corner until we find different ways of doing things. So please just wanted to update you on that. It's part of a wider discussion, and we're looking for better ways, but it's going to take a while. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Any more discussion?
Yeah. So we just go back to you, Ed, and you offered the support around the removal of the structure. Is it when the new structure go in, is it just two holes and this drops in?
Through the chair, no, it's a design structure with foundations. It has to conform with current building regulations for wind loadings, etc. So there will be excavation for the foundations. There will be, I believe, concrete being used around the posts. It's not a simple structure, no.
pretty simple.
So the intention was for this to be paid out of the discretionary fund. And I see that there's $7,071 in that discretionary fund. Is there any possibility, I think you might be able to answer this, that there would be $354 left over after we pay for this 6717? Can we give them the rest of that money to help towards?
They have requested that. They've requested the 6717.
Sorry, given the whole discretionary.
Yeah, well, the discretionary fund stands at $7,071. So there would be $354 left over after we paid the 6,717 for the.
But Ed said he would support some of the traffic management, is that right?
Yeah.
Ian, did you say you would support some of the traffic management costs?
Through the chair, if we were removing the structure on its own, we would have to pay for the traffic management to do so. There is a possibility that if we were instructed, we could look at the option of supporting the traffic management costs.
Okay, that's good.
Can we see if we can arrange the installation, as soon as the other one's gone, so it's all on the same day?
So the traffic management stays in.
Yeah, so we've only got 1 day of traffic management, which will be partly funded by council.
And then they just pay this quarter, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It was recommended that the existing structure be removed at the same time because the equipment used in place will be on site, so it could be used and would be a saving there also.
Yeah. So Ian, could you give us a breakdown of what that cost difference is so we can work out the support we can give this community group?
Through the chair, not immediately. I would estimate it's probably a third to actually remove and possibly 2/3 to build, but that would purely be an estimate.
So this is a discretionary grant, so it is the board's discretion. So if the board wishes to grant them the whole $7,000,
Well, I don't know.
You can.
I think we should work this through with Ed. If he's going to say 1/3 is going to be his and 2/3, we can work that number out, can't we? And then we can give them that money.
So can we move that we grant them the materials, the hire, the building work fee and a portion of the traffic management fee?
1/3, 2/3. Is that right, Ed? 1/3, 2/3, were you thinking?
Through the chair, that's my initial thoughts. Yes.
Okay, well, based on that, I think we can provide a motion to do that. And if it changes, you just come back to us and I'm sure we will adjust accordingly if we have to.
well, we won't be able to do that now. We'd have to wait for another report to come back to the board if you want.
Could we leave it in the motion to say that we'll leave the cost out so until we confirm that? Like, it's just we know what we're doing, we want to find that number and we can't get that number at the moment. So just make the motion that we pay the material costs and the hire and all that, but the traffic management is predicted to be 1/3 of the cost of $2,000. And if it's not, we'll adjust it accordingly.
It seems to me, why don't we split the traffic management cost in half? Because the council has to have a traffic management to take the thing down. They've got to arrange for separate guys to come in and do it. It's going to be some amount of money, then they take away, and if they come back the next day and put it up just for the community, for the local community and what they need to do, we're just increasing the cost of traffic management. So why can't we just sort of
Project manager properly.
yeah, and just say half and half, and then just move on?
Or you could, I mean,
Yeah,
at the end of the day, if the discretionary grant that you have left here.
Yeah.
If it is not spent by the 30th of June, it goes into retained earnings. You can't have I wouldn't say unestablished figure. You have to have a set figure in the resolution to be paid out. So you could actually change your resolution to say that you'd be prepared to pay up to $7,000.
Yeah.
In which case, but that would still have to be paid out, whatever that is.
Well, I would,
by the 30th of
yeah,
June.
I would say, backing up what Mark said, pay 5,717, council can pick up the other 1,000. Because that's been more than generous.
Does the job have to be completed and done by the 30th?
The job doesn't have to be completed and done by the 30th because they can,
invoice it in.
yeah, but they need to have the invoice in before the 30th of June. The purchase order and invoice paid out before the 30th of June.
Otherwise, the retained earnings disappear.
Well,
We'll go into your retained
they go
earnings.
into these 50%. It's like so we get some of it back.
Yeah, well, I move that we approve 5,717.
All in favour?
Aye.
Second, sorry, second, Mark.
I think, yes.
Mark seconded. So all in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. the Whangamatā Holiday Pedestrian Calming Zone. There is a complex report reply from Ed on this. Does somebody wish to speak to it?
Through the chair, I'm willing to speak on the report. If I can take the report as read, the initial request from the board was for staff to look into the options to create a pedestrian-friendly zone along the Beverley Terrace area, so that holidaymakers could walk through the area without risk of vehicle traffic. As part of that, I also looked at areas within the main residential area of town to see if there would be possible benefits to creating similar zones as a thoroughfare through to the beach area. So effectively creating a channel through to the Beverley Terrace area. The report I've prepared here identifies two areas, one for Beverley Terrace and one for the Graham Street, Low Street, Mary Road and Sylvia Road area. They're marked separately in the plan provided. The Beverley Terrace linking through to the CBD is marked in red, whereas the other area around Graham Street is marked in yellow. It's possible for both areas to take place, or for one or either of the areas to take place. As we previously touched on, this could be done under the Code of Practice for Temporary Traffic Management as a road closure, effectively excluding vehicles except for access. So that would prevent through traffic. To do that, the idea would be to actually physically block the road at the locations shown in either the red or yellow dots. That would prevent through traffic, but still allow access to the residential properties in those areas. That in turn would then create areas where pedestrians would be far safer to actually walk along to gain access to either the CBD or the beach area. There are costs involved in this, which we've estimated, and depending on the board's decision, the intention would be to create a more detailed traffic management plan and more detailed costs. I'm happy for any questions.
Neil?
Yeah, Ed, I have a question on if we were looking at the road closure option, and on page 41 of our notes, it's under 2.8 of your report. You have a potential cost of 2,500 per site to install and to remove, but what's the 200 per week site maintenance fee anticipated there?
Right. Through the chair, one of the issues we find with any road closure is vandalism of the signs. Any one of these closures would require signing to comply with the legislation, and that cost would be effectively be the cost of a daily inspection to make sure that the signs haven't been picked up, taken to the beach and thrown into the sea, or that sort of effect.
I don't think we have much of a problem with that here.
No, I wouldn't put that, but I think that when we asked the question originally, we were already just looking at Beverley Terrace, and part of the reason for Beverley Terrace, and I'm surprised at some of the wording, and there's no evidence of the problem here, is that in the peak time of summer, the main street is clogged full of vehicles and people, and so people as an alternative come down, not Beverley Terrace, there's the main roundabout down by the Port Road Cafe. They bypass the town, they come through Barbara, then they turn into Beverley, and so Beverley becomes a main thoroughfare of people wanting to come down to the beach in their cars. There is no footpath in Beverley Terrace. You can't walk on the grass during the peak time in Beverley Terrace. because it's full of people parking their cars on the grass, and it's loaded up. People who have difficulty walking can't walk on the grass anyway because it's very rough. The road is only about 5 metres wide. It's hardly wide enough for 2 vehicles to pass in any event with the people and the cars that are there. So I think the main focus was around providing safe pedestrian access down Beverley Terrace, not the other roads because they have less vehicles on them, down to the beach during the peak hours. We're meant to be a people-friendly town. I mean, the report talks about they're going to increase the number of bikes if we do something. Well, so what? If the cyclist wants to come down Beverley Terrace, they should be able to come down safely and not have to deal with 2 cars trying to pass each other, because it really does become a main thoroughfare during the peak times when access through town is very, very difficult. I think that we've talked about things in the report that speed bumps might make a noise and people might object to it. There's speed bumps down the East Mud. There's speed bumps all around many towns in New Zealand, and they're just part of the way of life. And honestly, at times it might be an issue, which is at night. Most of the people are in their homes. I really can't see that should be any real concern for people living on Beverley Terrace. We can easily do some more permanent work on Beverley Terrace to make it a safer place for people to walk and cycle down to the beach.
Can I just point out where I live in Auckland? Perth Bay, they have installed in the area something like 2,000 speed bumps. And the area has just changed completely. It is just extraordinary. We don't have the hoons going. We don't have the people. The traffic follows the road. They want them to follow up Jeweller's Road and not come through the suburb. And it's just remarkable. And it sure mucked us around for a long time, but there's over 1,000 speed bumps and it works perfectly well. And the residents love it, and just people who come through say, how can you stand those speed bumps? We say we love it.
Yeah, so through the chair, if I can. So I support what Mark's saying. I think we are looking at some simple traffic calming. And over that busy period of summer that we're promoting walking and people enjoying themselves and without the fear of being run over. The actual road is 5.5 metres, but you're right, it's pretty tight. You get 2 cars coming and a cyclist,
Cyclists and people and
and they're all walking on the road.
Yep.
So we encourage them to walk on the road and enjoy themselves and the cars to go away. So yeah, so I don't know. Are we looking for something to remove after Christmas area, or are we just going to keep something for the year round, like a bogged down thing or a permanent?
Well, it's a trial. Well, it can be a trial, but I think at the end of the day, why can't it be a more permanent thing with the speed bumps? Is a way of slowing vehicles down on the road. You can have. I found the report kind of find the hard things about doing anything, rather than trying to be more. Rather than being a positive report about here's some really good things we can do. You can have a speed bump, you can have a fence and planting either side of it on the grass verge so that people can't drive through it and get around it. I really think that I would like to see more of a longer term thing, because people still in the holidays and on the sunny days in the last week when it was fine. And the weekends, there are a lot of people walking up Beverley Terrace and moving around the cars, having to access through the grass. I don't think that we're actually promoting a pedestrian, people-friendly access to the beach. I don't know what we're doing now. Dave's gone.
So that's their option. So well, pretty chair is not here, but so what are our options that we're looking at as? Yeah.
Well, from what Mark has added, it's either the speed bumps or we go with the plan to temporarily close off Beverley Terrace over the summer.
Yeah, well, so have we consulted with any of the people that actually live down there, or are we just making a decision for them? I know they want something, but.
Can I ask, I couldn't quite hear, what triggered this? It was you, wasn't it?
Oh, it's me. I triggered it because of walking up there in the summer and people having to, and noticing you know, the amount of people, amount of cars and people with congestion there. But also I had a lot of concerns from drivers who said, what are all these people doing on the road here? You know, they're in their way, toot, toot, toot. Then I've had a lot of comments from people who've been walking up the road saying they feel unsafe with their kids and access for the vehicles coming down the road, because they do come at speed, because it is, as I said before, in the summertime in particular, when the main road through town is very busy and it takes a long time to get through town, people use the bypass, which is down Barbara, down Beverley, down to the beach.
I've been approached by one of the residents down in Murray about doing something as well, like looking for something to slow the traffic down there. So are we here to think say what we think is the best thing now? Is that what we're doing today?
Well, I had thought that
We
had a report, and I thought we could have more discussions with Ed about the options rather than just being stuck with.
So what's your preferred option, Ed? What do you think would be the best outcome for what we're trying to achieve, which is to slow the people down there and make it safer?
Through the chair, my understanding of the request of the report was that it was to deal with the holiday period.
Yes.
If we're talking about an overall traffic calming of Beverley Terrace for the year round, then this is definitely not the best option. The best option would be the creation of traffic calming measures through there. Because there's not generally sufficient traffic to create chicanes, traffic platforms or road humps would be the best option, as has been said, associated with some form of planting or landscaping around the edges to prevent them being bypassed. They would potentially be able to be put all the way along Beverley Terrace. You'd typically be talking about a 200-metre section, or at the entrance at every junction. But potentially you could take everything from Ocean Road towards the beach and create a pedestrian-friendly zone. If you're doing that, I would recommend that we install a 30k speed limit or lower as part of the changes to the speed management plan for the council. And if it's successful, that could, in theory, then be run out for every residential street within the Whangamatā area, I would say, apart from those that are coloured yellow in the plan on figure 2.1. Effectively, what you're doing is creating a hierarchy of roads where through roads like Ocean Road, Achilles Avenue, Williamson Road, etc., are maintained at 50 kph with footpaths down the side, and all the other roads are traffic calmed to some extent to allow pedestrians to use the road as a shared surface, reduced to 30 kph and signed accordingly. So what we're talking about is, instead of dealing with it for purely a holiday period, we would be looking at it as an overall plan, should we say, for traffic calming and shared surfaces within the Whangamatā area.
That's through the chair. So that's obviously, I don't think a long-term plan is going to happen this summer. What I think we originally talked about was a temporary fix for this summer as a trial period as such, which you recommended the barriers and making it a cul-de-sac area. Do we here now, we decide what we think is the best way to move forward, so you can obviously move it. If we were to decide on the calming of it with the cul-de-sac area, is that something that could be achieved by this summer as a trial period?
It certainly could be, yes.
Yeah. And the other stuff, if we were to go along the way of speed bumps and such, would be obviously something that is a longer term thing.
On speed bumps, there are bolt down speed bumps that could be installed as a temporary measure. The problem is with those, we would also have to have some sort of measure around the side of them to prevent them being bypassed, but that's also achievable as a temporary measure.
Okay, so you'd be confident that if we were to push for something, you could either achieve by this summer the temporary measure of speed bumps or the temporary measure of barriers.
That's correct, yes.
So it's very,
Yeah, so I'm listening to what's happened there. I think that's just the right approach. Really, it's the main carriageway for people walking to the beach, and it's those side streets don't get a lot of activity up and down them. Down the beach,
Talking about this road only.
yeah, this road only is a main access way. We haven't got any other way of doing it. We don't have a boardwalk or anything like that for people to use. So this is the main traffic way, and it's really busy over the summer period for that 2 or 3 months. And so I think this temporary method is a really good test case to say, yeah, let's put it in. And if people say, oh, I'm not driving down there, it's a pain in the ass, or go somewhere else, that's what we want, really, isn't it? And
Are you saying the speed bumps rather than the closure?
well, I reckon dropping the speed limit and putting the speed bumps in is most probably my idea.
It's temporary. It's the fourth thing. So
It's actually going to be cheaper just to close it, isn't it?
Well,
You
yeah,
know, have the barriers at each end.
Well, yeah, I think that if we have the speed bumps.
Yeah.
And
That's
there's a cost. That's something we can tell the community that we're trialing and see
Yeah.
what it's going to be like. To put the barriers on the verge to stop people going around it, that's just the same as whatever you're going to need some concrete things. Whatever you're going to need for closing the road anyway, so there's no extra between the two options. There's no extra
like
cost.
those plastic things full of water or something like that.
And I think that if we just had speed bumps in there, that is a trial. That's good. If you can actually close the road off, you've got a whole different story. You've got to tell the local.
Getting consultation for that.
Yeah. And I think dropping the speed limit for that period is a good time. You know, let's go to 30 for that particular period, and if it works, we can roll it out.
Yeah.
And the other thing about Beverley, it's not just people coming to the beach, it's the other way going into town to coffee shops and food and that sort of thing as well. It's the equal traffic the other way.
Very shortcut.
Yeah, a lot of people go to the beach from here though, as opposed to other people, it's just sort of residents coming back, or, you know, they've got the option of going down the Foot Road or those pubs, Ocean Road and extra of that. Anyway,
so is the preference in speed bumps?
speed bumps for the reduced speed limit.
Yeah, but can we get that in, those speed bumps in by Christmas? Do we have a budget to do that?
Bog down.
December, will take from up to next one.
Yeah, do we have the money to do that?
He said it was achievable.
It's through the chair, it's achievable, but the we do not have budget allocated for next financial year for this. No.
No, it's not achievable.
Can I just make a suggestion? Do we need to actually go out to the public to say, this is what's being proposed and why it's being proposed? Because there's going to be some people who get this in a tangle.
I don't think we're doing anything major though, are we?
Well, no,
They're
they're
going
not.
to be involved in the
Sure, but if it's not going to happen till next year, we could just educate them why it's happening, and it's a free trip to invite them to go around if they want some.
I think that it's probably right that we consult with the community about it and think it's their area and see what their thoughts are.
So we won't achieve anything this summer, then we'll.
Well, if we do a consultation and everything back in by the end of July.
So what they concentrate in 4 weeks.
So through the chair, if I look at the budget, there's $96,000 for car park reseals. There's a little bit in there, 10 grand for footpath rehabilitations. I don't know, is any of those budgets available?
Through the chair, the car park budget isn't my budget. You'd have to talk to Derek and the parks team on that one. If I may make a suggestion, before we talk about budgets, if I can take an instruction away from the community board today, to revise this, develop a plan for temporary traffic calming using road humps and the 30k speed limit, come back to you with that with an estimate of the actual costs involved. Then it would probably be better at that time to talk about budgets and where we can find funding for it. and take it from that. So take one step at a time.
Only on that one road is what we're looking
Yeah,
at,
well, yeah, that's good.
not the rest of the roads. And once again, Eileen, how would we outline a timeframe for that? If we were to get that from it by the next meeting, then it would be out for consultation.
Well, it's soon to the new year, so the budget will be there, it's decided the money.
No, I'm just seeing if there's a chance of achieving it this year or.
Oh, yeah, the money's there. I think Ed's saying the money's there.
No, I'm just looking for a timeframe. If we're going to comply with the residents down there, how quick's this going to happen?
I couldn't answer that this right now, sorry.
What the chair, so how wide would the consultation be? I mean, because a lot of people who use their big terrace don't live there.
Well, I think really the consultation is probably the roads you're thinking about.
Well, I mean, the point is that people who use their big terrace, and walking up and down, driving up and down it, majority of the people who are doing it through the peak time don't live in Bedford Terrace, they live elsewhere.
Sure, but my point is the people who live there are the ones who are going to be getting the effect if they don't know about it. At the moment,
80% non-resident rate.
well, at the moment, we're getting a whole lot of stormwater stuff done. We have our third letter for the meeting to discuss it. Everything is done. We have meetings and things get changed when the locals, literally, we have the highest percentage of engineers and lawyers in the country, but
You know,
Yeah, but if you're living in Beverley, and you're going to get a speed bump outside your house with also concrete combing, you're going to want to know that.
yeah,
Can we give Ed some direction, mate?
Yeah, that's what I just want to.
friendly point, yeah.
Okay, can we try and achieve it by the summer? And our preferred option is to go with temporary speed bumps from December till.
oh, you're talking about those sort of plastic things you stole on the road.
Like you see on state highways now, slow down in the 30s. Is that what we're looking at? Is that the option?
Or the pretend they have the stripes and yet people go and slow it and they realise, oh no, it's actually not a speeding bump, they just got the paint on the road.
Ed, is that achievable?
I'm aware that there's going to be the only issue that I can see is finding the budget to do it. The materials are available in New Zealand. The legislation would be covered, it would be temporary works covered under the Temporary Traffic Management Act, which is my delegated authority. So there's no issues with the temporary speed limit or with putting the bumps in. And work-wise, I believe it's achievable. As I say, I believe the only issue is finding out how much it's going to cost and finding the budget for it.
Yeah, well, let's get it, let's work on that end and we'll figure it out.
Can you please do that and come back to us on that?
By the next meeting.
Certainly as soon as possible.
Thank you very much.
We need them.
We need to put a motion that what we're getting up to achieve.
Okay, so the resolution is receive the holiday pedestrian calming zone report and then request council or for Ed to do a pricing for us in relation to having speed bumps.
Speed bumps and
Signage for signage.
Or Beverley Terrace.
Beverley Terrace?
Beverley Terrace, yeah. Do we need to go all the way, Mark? Or do we go to Low Street only? Sorry, which is Graham Street? Graham Street, go all the way. You can go right through?
Yeah. Oh, probably right through.
Yeah.
They do all the way through. But a lot of pedestrian people do turn left to Graham and then down onto the Esplanade.
But we need to think about that.
But a lot of, the other times people are just accessing the park and they go all the way through.
So where would we put the speed bump up there? Would we put it at Graham Street? Or
About every 200 metres.
Or right down the road.
every 200 metres?
That's what he
If they
said.
need to do a calm, and you can't have one, they just race to the.
Excuse me, through the chair, can I make a suggestion on the resolution?
Yeah.
I believe resolution 1 stands. Resolution 2 should be requests council to ask the chief executive to develop detailed proposals for the creation of temporary traffic calmed zones on Beverley Street in Whangamatā in accordance with item 2.5 of the comprehensive report for the 2023-24 holiday season, and report back to the community board for the next meeting on the final proposal and potential costs involved.
That's good.
Sounds good. We have a move and seconded for that.
I'll move that.
Yeah, I second that.
Moved and seconded. All in favour? Thank you, Ed, for that.
While you're there, can I ask a question through the chair? Just looking at the last lot of storms with access to the beach, is that your domain, like going from the surf clubs? It's all been gouged out and it's, you can't get down to the beach. Who handles?
Through the chair, that's the Parks team under Derek.
Okay.
You get down to the beach.
No, what about to get the surf boats down?
Oh, true.
Yeah, so you're a good guy out there, so.
Yeah.
That's sure that they had that before and it makes them a little bit hamstrung.
True.
So the next matter item is the Hetherington Road cycleway proposal update from Ed. Ed, can you speak to that, please?
Yes, through the chair. If I can take the report as read, following the previous discussion with the board, we were asked to look at how to make best use of the residual budget of the current funding. That's $188,000 approximately. Staff have had a look at what's available there, and we believe that the best option is to utilise existing footpaths, widen those to a suitable standard for shared use for both pedestrians and cycleways, and basically working from the bridge at Hetherington Road to go as far north as we possibly can with the funding that's currently available.
So you're talking about having it on the seaward side, extending the width of the footpath on the seaward side, Ed?
That's correct, yes.
How does that help for people coming out of town?
Is it dedicated cycleway next to the footpath?
Yeah, they're just talking about extending the footpath with
Making it the cycleway and walking traffic as well.
No, I don't think it meets the current concern, which is going across the bridge.
Exactly.
And going across the bridge was the main issue. And I would wonder whether you could have some kind of clip-on Bailey Bridge type thing as an additional footpath across that bridge, so that cyclists and people on mobility scooters and people pushing pushchairs have room to pass. So you've got the existing footpath for one way, perhaps, and an additional clip-on Bailey Bridge type structure or something like that for the other. So rather than spend it on widening footpaths, it still doesn't address the core problem, which is getting across the bridge safely.
Ed, I don't know whether you're aware or not, but apparently next year there is a very large international mountain bike function that's going to be held out of the mountain bike park, which will mean a lot more traffic, particularly cycle traffic in town going across there too. So that is the concern, is traffic going north across there. And it would also mean that it would stop elderly people from Moana House, etc., with their invalid vehicles, that they could come down and travel on that side to go to the supermarket and that which they do, rather than having them cross the busy road twice.
Through the chair, I was not aware of the event. As part of any event, we normally are consulted by the event organizer on traffic management. So if there is a significant increase in the number of cyclists using that route, we could potentially look at other options as part of temporary traffic management, maybe the creation of actual cycle lanes on the road. But that, I think, would have to form part of the event traffic management. With regard to the bridge, I'm aware that that was the original intent of this exercise, but I believe we had already established that a clip onto the bridge was more expensive than the budget which was available. Which was why I was asked to go away and look at other options for make best use of the funds that the community board had available. I'm quite happy to take guidance on that, but at the moment I believe that the best use of the funds would be to widen the existing footpaths.
Any comment on that?
So can I just ask through you, what happens to the funds that we don't spend right now, but put them aside to try and secure more funds to do some work on the bridge? Just seems a bit silly to say, well, we've got this money left over, let's just go and spend on something else and we still don't solve the problem.
Dean, could you answer that for us?
Could you just repeat the question?
Okay, so what happens to the funds if we decide just to put it aside for now and secure more funding to solve the problem of the bridge, rather than just say, well, we've got this money sitting here, so let's just go and spend it on something that doesn't actually solve the problem?
I'm not sure, sorry. Ed, are you able to answer that question?
Can you do it as a carry forward because it's a CapEx project, or will it just go into retained earnings?
I believe that it could be carried forward to next financial year. With regard to obtaining more funds, that would have to be a submission to the council's long-term plan, and that's my suggested resolution 2, that we use the information that's gained so far and apply and use that in a long-term plan submission. Also, at that time, we could apply for funding from Whangamatā to potentially have contribution from them towards the total cost of the scheme.
Well, it seems to me that if we're looking for some extra funding and we need to do that in the long-term plan, that's what we should do. But by just spending 188k on something else, the 188k, we've got to go and find more again to do it again. So I agree.
Any other
What's the resolution of it, that we retain that money to further the project in the next financial year?
Yeah.
As long as it's retained.
Yeah.
And then by then and get Ed to go out and look for this external funding through the government thing.
See how we can secure the funding to solve the problem of the bridge. I mean, it's not just cyclists on the bridge; it's pedestrians again. It's people with on their mobility scooters and things. It's a very tight, congested little.
Yeah, I don't think, Ed, that cycle lanes are the answer there, because the bridge is so narrow. It makes it very awkward. So the idea of actually putting that money aside until we can get some more seems to be an idea. What's your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't have any concerns about putting that. I think it's potentially the best option, but what I would suggest is that if the scheme is funded through an LTP submission or fully funded with an LTP submission, the funding that you've got here would only be a small proportion of that. In the previous item, we were discussing the potential funding of the traffic calming measures. What I would suggest is if you're going to defer spending on this budget, that instead of ring fencing it purely for the cycleway, potentially it could form funding for, should we say, community roading improvements.
We should do a bike strategy and rails and things like that.
Through you, Dave, Kerry, if we've got 188,000 set aside for a footpath extension across the bridge, does that help persuade council to give us the extra in the long-term plan to do it?
Yeah, if you want to put one of these projects as your key projects, one of the key things to go to council, then we will take that to council and lobby for that. And for that funding, it might be over 1 or 2 period, might be 3 years, I don't know. But we'll make these things in the first year and things in the second year and get there.
But having money already there for it, does that help?
Yeah, we would need that funding in place to start that off, yeah.
Yeah.
And it might be, I don't know, Len, what do you think? A couple of million?
3 years, I think you want to think.
We're going to give them a right.
Sorry, guys, was that a question for me?
Yeah, I was saying a round figure to put that trail all the way out to the mountain bike park, but around $2 million.
I think so. Then it's Len, I think it's when you, I think you meant Ed, not Len.
No lens.
I know.
Sorry, guys, I'm a bit confused. Was somebody asking me a question or Ed? Because when
Ed.
on the microphones,
right.
they sound similar. Sorry.
Through the chair, my apologies. I was deferring to the senior officer. Mike, I believe in the previous report there was an estimate of 2.4 million.
Yeah, so that's what we have to think about, that kind of money spread over it.
So is the retaining of the 188?
Yeah, but I was thinking of just the bridge portion of that.
No, you need to be part of the whole project.
Does it?
Yeah. No, you're just doing the bridge part and not the rest, so you'd have to decide which side you want to put it on and whether you're widening the footpath on the bridge or you're building a new one to put on. Those kind of decisions would have to be made, but it needs to be part of the whole project. And put into the long-term plan and fund it, just like everything else, I suppose. And like I say, it might be spread over a couple of years to do it, so.
The question though was, is it with retaining that 188, will that help us get that funding? Or do we just go for 100% funding and spend the 188?
No, the 188 supports it.
Yeah.
As long as it
that was the question. We need to keep it, or as Ed said, to move it over to the road company.
Did you, Ed, just to clear that, were you thinking it was better into the roading budget than left in the current budget?
Through the chair, no, I would not move it into the roading budget, i.e. the district roading budget. I would keep it within the community board realm of decision making, should we say, and used for Whangamatā roading improvement or traffic calming projects in the Whangamatā area.
Right. Okay, so that's the word you've got to remember. Roading improvements.
But I'd like to see it somehow tagged, not just roading improvements, but sort of
it will have a
community safety, or we're talking about building a cycle track and widening the bridge. They're all to provide safety for non-vehicles, non-road vehicles.
Correct.
We're looking at doing the same down Beverly Terrace, trying to provide safety to pedestrians and cyclists. So I'd just like to somehow, whatever the title might be, for the
roading and resilience.
Well, just in terms of
Road safety
improvements,
yeah, I think an explanation around the bike strategy. I think we should do. So that there. Sorry.
Through the chair, possible wording could be community road safety improvements within the road reserve.
Yeah, call that.
Yeah, make that. Okay, like that thing. Thank you.
So the recommendation is that the money be held over for the time pending further funding, and the actual wording is.
Well, we want to form it as part of submission to the long-term plan for this project.
Yeah. So recommend the council, the chief executive proceed where it's retain the funding of $188,000 for community road safety improvements within the road reserve.
through the chair. So I think what he's trying to get at there is if we needed to, we can use it for the road coming, and then if we wanted to use it for that, that's I think what we're trying to achieve isn't it, by that.
Well, yeah, but that covers it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
All in favour of that, aye?
It's been moved.
So just to go back to the resolution, so your suggested resolution that's here is, so you're doing one, receives the Hetherington Road Club Awakening proposal. Doing two, recommend the council, or not doing two, you're just going straight to three of those changes.
We're just going straight to three with those
Okay.
changes.
So delete number two. Was that your understanding, Ed?
Through the chair, no, I believe that you should still keep number 2 because that refers the entire project to the LTP.
Okay, so you're doing number one, you're confirming number two, and you're just altering the wording for number three.
Okay,
Do you want to move or a second?
yeah, who's,
Oh, I'll move.
you'll move it?
Yeah.
Seconder? Terry? All in favour, say aye. Got that. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
We're now on to the CapEx work programme. Who's talking to us?
It should get Andrew voted on that.
Andrew, are you there? Good morning, Andrew.
Yes, good morning, good morning.
Anybody got any comments that they want to bring up with Andrew on this?
Who's going to go through line by line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So minor reserve projects, parks and facilities,
Blake.
long-term plan $40,000 and forecast to spend by June 40,950 and it's completed.
Yep.
No problems there. Parks and reserve renewal. A number of items to be installed before the 30th of June, Hetherington Road Reserve fitness equipment, picnic tables, bike racks and benches. And that's on track to be finished by June.
Yep.
Street furniture renewal, again on track, Main Street bench seats being replaced, on track for completion by June.
Yes.
The cycleway pedestrian access reduced project C is only completed, awaiting final invoices.
Yep.
Is that mitigation work going on to that, Andrew?
I beg your pardon, Terry?
That stormwater ponds overflowing down the bottom and washed out the bottom of the steps or around the steps?
We haven't, I've consulted with finance and there's not enough budget that is available, Terry, through the chair for to do all that work. So at the moment, the answer to your question is no.
There's some emergency funding.
Well, no, that seems a bit odd. If you've got a LTP budget of 110, you've spent 30, you've got another 50 to spend. Where's the rest going?
No, not another 50 total.
Or 50 total?
So they're talking about,
You've got 60 then?
so you've got about 20 metres of just 150 mil off the ground boardwalk to get it. So because they won't dig out the stormwater pond, so it flows across the path there, Andrew. And you can't get metal in there because there's no access now.
Well, the only access, Terry, is down the stairs with a small machine.
No, well, you can come in the other way, but
Yeah, you could do.
yeah.
It's more difficult.
But we don't want a machine. You just want somebody to dig some holes with post hole bore and put some concrete and put some timber on top of it, really.
Terry, I'll look at it again because I understand the need for it with the project manager and see if we can reduce the cost and keep the gravel path down there that we discussed the other week.
Yeah, can I just say the gravel path will be very difficult to put in getting metal in there, but if you take timber in, with some bit of bag of cement, you'd most probably do it a lot quicker that way than putting a gravel path, because the water overflows from the stormwater pond, and it's 6 or 7 inches deep there sometimes across, and it'll just wash all that metal away.
That's not what I've been advised, Terry, but I'll look at it again.
Thank you, that'd be great.
Leave that with me. I understand the need.
Yeah.
So the fire station reserve playground and also the boardwalk extension are both off track at present.
Yep. And there's no budget in the proposed annual plan for next year.
Okay.
For either.
Car park resealing, we touched on that briefly before. There's $40,000 forecast before, no change, budget restraints meant to reduce the program.
And there's 96,000 through the chair, 96,000 available next year in the proposed annual plan to finish the programme of works that couldn't be finished this year because of the budget constraints.
Thank you, Andrew. The Island View car park, and that's on track.
That's finished. That is finished, and there's a little bit of tidying up work to be done at the front of it. And also, as per your request, Terry, we're looking at putting some more landscaping in front of the toilet as well.
Thank you. Andrew, the other point that was there was quite a bit of that black framing that went underneath the sand to enforce the base, and that was sitting there, and we suggested that in fact be used on the left hand side where those boards are, that park, and there's quite a bit of flooding there. We suggested that be cleaned up and some of the sand used for there. Is there any movement on that?
No, not at the moment, but I'm visiting site at the end of this month to look at all those items. So if you can give me just a little bit of time, I'll work out what we can do there.
Appreciate it.
And Andrew, just to add to that, there's a community group happy to do that work if it just means digging up a bit of sand and putting it down. So if you need that support, it's available.
I think those plastic things have been moved off site.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, they have.
They might have paid for them.
But we tried to get them to keep them there for it. You know, it was obviously purchased for that job, so it's just a matter of.
Yeah, it was.
So question through the chair. Andrews, did we get an answer on the reason why that car park was not made flat? So you took a flat piece of land and made it into a hill?
Is to address the stormwater off the car park. So it's got to fall both ways instead of putting expensive pipe work and reticulating it off there. So that the reason why it had a fall on it was just to address the stormwater once all the grass is taken.
Okay, so in the designing phase, was there any consultation with any experts of that industry? Because I believe it's a bit of an embarrassment for an RV to pull up into there and sleep on a hill.
Yes, I believe so. Our civil engineering Pinnacles did the design on that, and they're the ones who advised us on it.
So did they consult with anything like the Motorhome Association and all that? Because, like I say, you know, sleeping in an RV would be pretty uncomfortable lying down on a hill unless you've got self-leveling, which is not that common in New Zealand.
Andrew,
should a camper van go across there, if it's too much of a slope, and I don't believe it is, but it's too much of a slope, they could use the bottom car park.
I was going to say, why don't they use the other car park, the one further back?
Yeah, we could do near the playground.
Because the road was steep enough already anyway for campers. I think the camping zone should go to the existing car park, not the new one, but the other one.
Andrew, have you seen it? Have you been to the site?
Sorry, I'm just receiving a call, trying to get rid of it. Just in a meeting, I'll ring you back.
Sure.
Sorry, excuse me. What was the last question?
Have you been to the site and seen the actual
No.
angle of that?
No, I haven't been to the site, but I will be going very shortly.
It is quite extreme, and that was why we tried to get something looked at before they finish the construction of it, because it is quite an extreme slope either side.
Well, as I've said, there are other areas there with existing car parks that, should it be an issue for a camper van that they could park, there's a lot of space there.
Next to it.
Yeah. But what is the plan for that anyway?
Because my thing of it, like, I think what's gonna happen is you're gonna get an RV or a camper van put on, they're gonna go straight to the middle, not to the edges. And you're gonna put bugger all in there. It just seemed to me, once again, a waste of money design, in the design phase, where you've got something that's not fit for purpose.
Well, what's the purpose?
Someone would.
It's a car park. Excuse me, it's a car park.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Is it not for RVs?
So at the moment, with the freedom camping bylaw that's in place at the moment, the freedom camping area is in that existing car park. The new car park
No, it's on the road. you mean.
in the
bottom car park.
the bottom car
Yeah,
park.
okay, yeah.
The top one by the playground is prohibited. There's no freedom camping in there. The new one that is built at present is prohibited as well until such time as it is put into the bylaw that there is freedom camping in there. So that's a consultation process that has to be gone through.
So wouldn't you want to put the freedom camping into the existing car park, which is flat, rather than that new one? If you were going to change it.
So that's a decision that the board will make when it comes up for a variation or the freedom camping bylaw is reviewed. But at the moment, your freedom camping is in that existing car park.
Okay, so it's a car, so sorry, I was under the understanding that one of our meetings, we talked about closing that bottom car park to the safety and it washing away.
Yeah,
And that's why the new one was getting built,
So
so.
like, we're allocating the freedom camping out of the bottom car park because it's on an angle. And they don't like parking on it, so we're trying to put up a flat area to put them onto.
That's my
And to
point.
deal with your stays, yes, right.
So we've taken the angle car park that they didn't like staying on and built them a hill to stay on it, just once again.
Well, they can go to the other one, can't they?
No, this is not allowed in here.
No, but if you changed it, they could.
Yeah, we'd have to have that discussion.
Yeah.
It's not planned, but.
No.
Okay.
And that way, that would presumably suit more people because it's further away from the beach, and regular people who just take their cars to the beach for the day can park on the hill.
Right, any more discussion on that? The footpath construction for work has commenced on the replacement of wooden boardwalk sections at the beach access 6. I think that's completed now, isn't it? And stage replacement.
But it's still tidy up work to do down there.
There's still some to be done.
There's still tidy up work to do around the concrete work that's been done. I mean, the forming boards are still in place. It's rubbish that they've left behind. I'd be interested to know who actually sort of signs off the work's complete. Because in my view, it's not.
That'll be the roading engineer.
One for me.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, just a quick one. Actually, on Islandview Car Park, the original beach access to down the beach, put their boats and different fishing gear out. That's now closed, and they've put another temporary one to further on. Could that piece of pushed up sand against that tar seal be planted? Because we need to secure that, otherwise it'll get washed away in the storm. It's just part of an erosion control from all that area. It's just asking that question if it can be raised. Thanks.
I will raise that question, Terry, to the coastal scientist, engineer,
Yeah.
coastal scientist. I'll come back to you on that, Terry.
Thank you.
So footpaths rehabilitation, replacing existing sections of footpath greater than 5 metres in length and not considered as maintenance. So we've got, and that's under investigation still, is that correct? Awaiting final invoices for June works.
Sorry, I've lost that one. Which one was that, Mr. Chairman?
Footpaths rehabilitation, the second one down on.
Oh, yes, I beg your pardon. Sorry.
Yeah.
I believe that work's been finished, but I'll need to check on that.
Okay, and the street lighting maintenance, existing lights, ensuring TCDC lighting assets are safe. Awaiting an update on pricing to upgrade lights from lantern lights to LEDs, and that's green lighted too, awaiting final invoices.
Yeah, that's correct. And there's some money next year, in next year's annual plan, 27,000 for that as well.
The streetlight improvement for a complete work program.
Yeah, that's done. And there's no budget in the annual plan, proposed annual plan for next year.
Limco construction, the construction completed and tidying up, is that Rutherford Road one, is it?
Yeah, rather.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, for there.
So, again, Mr. Chair, 3, I mean,
Yep.
who signs off on that? I mean, because that's not up to standard.
In what way?
We're not
In
way,
what way?
and the berms that are butt down to the road have been, it's tried to topsoil them, tried to grass them. I appreciate the weather hasn't been the best, but that's not a standard of a satisfactory standard to let the berm and the people who have to live in those areas have to now put up with something that is completely different and less standard than what they had to start off with.
Yeah, I'll pass that back to the roading engineer.
I understand that RFSs have been sent to the council regarding that, but I can't verify that, but that's what I've been told by the community.
Okay, I'll get a response back to you on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. The Christmas tree lights and decorations have been received. Is that correct?
Yep.
You happy with that?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, and the cycle track from Heatherington Road, we'll discuss that.
Just up there, yeah.
Yeah, cost of works, etc. So that's on hold at the moment.
Okay.
Yep.
3, yeah, Mr. Chairman, this says 203,000 and the report earlier said 188,000. So what's the 20 something been spent for? What was that for? The cycle one, yeah.
Showing 203 and he's asking about that. We've got 188, so.
So it was 50,000 dressed up for some sort of design work and actually $200,000 to support the project to get it going. So I'm not too sure what that number is, but he said 188, didn't he?
Yeah, so the same next week.
15 short.
I don't know what the difference is.
No, it doesn't matter. So it's 15. He doesn't know.
I don't know.
And then the public toilets.
They're all finished.
Yeah, that's completed.
Yes, all 3.
Thank you. The water system optimization, the 2 key improvements for the due to slow progress on a number of fronts, the budget has been reduced and the project deferred.
Yeah, that's gone to the LTP. Proposed LTP.
What is that, water optimisation?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, so I understand that the 3rd water treatment station will be open on the 25th of August, Andrew. That's still on track, isn't it?
Yes, it is. That's the one at Moana Point, Terry.
Yeah. Is that part of the water optimisation or is that something separate?
Drinking water standards project.
Okay.
Separate project.
Separate project. Thank you.
and the universal meter system, what's the situation with that?
The materials for that are on site in storage, and that project has been deferred as part of the proposed annual plan. Unfortunately.
Thank you, Andrew. Delayed progress in the project, and then the stormwater improvement.
Brett will comment on that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
He's here somewhere.
Brett, do you want to talk on that now?
I can see his name up there.
Yeah.
I can see his, there he is.
An action plan, Mr. Chairman, on a little further. Can I talk to that summary report after Andrew's finished his review of all of the items? So in about 5-10 minutes, I'll talk to the project update report.
Thank you, Brett, sure. And the Whangamatā centrifugal replacement.
That's finished.
The installation complete and operating well. So that's that one that was open the other day.
That was only Mano, it was different things.
No, that's different.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That was the Whangamatā water treatment plant.
Oh, okay. So this is the one that's opening on the.
This is to do with the, is it wastewater or water?
Centrifugal.
Water.
Water, yeah, it's part of a different piece of equipment.
It's finished.
So through you again, Mr. Chair. I don't understand the budgets here. We've got a.
No, I know, there's a,
We've got year-to-date spend and we're going to.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
I don't understand the numbers around in the dollars. We have a budget, we have a year to spend, which is more than the budget. And then we have a forecast to spend, which is the budget. I don't understand the numbers.
I believe that 991.84 is an error. I think that should be 874977. That's an error.
Okay.
All right.
Well, yes, that wasn't presented, but that made sense.
So that completes. Sorry, we've got some more here. The community grants, contract community grants, services. What have we got? Whangamatā Community Swimming Pool is still to be received. We've spoken to that this morning.
Just about to send a text to Ariana with a couple of comments on the act.
Yeah, and then the Whangamatā Community Library, payment of 74,053 for the funding agreement, and that's completed.
Yeah, it's a rollover contract.
Yep, and the spatial plan here, staff to report on the community board at a future meeting.
Yeah, we haven't had any,
Yes.
Leslie's working on this, Andrew.
Leslie's on.
Oh, there's Leslie, yeah. Leslie?
Good morning, board. Through the chair, yes, unfortunately, we have been unable to secure consultant support for this spatial plan development. And so I don't think that it is going to be completed this year. We've also unfortunately not been able to secure internal resource to staffing resource for this project. As you probably know, planning resources across New Zealand are very scarce currently, and with our best feet forward, we've not been able to advance this at all. But so what we would suggest is that this budget goes into retained earnings, and I will come back as soon as I can either or get internal planning resource to support the plan, development of the plan, or and secure a consultant to help with it.
Thank you, Leslie. Does it go into district retained earnings or local retained earnings?
I believe it is local retained OPEX.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question. Does that put you in breach of any statutory obligations?
No, it doesn't, through the chair. This is a non-statutory spatial plan that would be developed, and it would have recommendations, for example, for change for investment through the LTP, but also a change to the district plan. So it just it just indicates change, but it isn't a statutory document.
Thank you, Leslie. Any more on that? Okay, I understand that Ariana has got a reply for us in relation to.
Well, I won't say my thing, I'll pass on wrong. Sorry. Okay, that's good.
Ariana.
Kia ora koutou. Thank you for giving me time to consider my response. Just in regards to Mr. Boston's request in public forum, I guess the first thing to note that in standing orders 15.4, no resolutions can be made at the meeting. I've read the information, and officers would need to prepare a decision-making report. Standing orders principles 1.1 on page 11 notes that good governance includes ensuring that any decisions made understanding orders comply with decision-making provisions of Part 6 of the Local Government Act. At present, when I look at the request, I see that the information fails to include some of that information. As such, 77 requirements in relations to decision. So yes, I see that there are some options, but I cannot see where the options have been assessed in terms of their advantages and disadvantages. So I would be saying that no decision can be made at this meeting.
Can I just refer, I'll send you the text I was about to send you, which is just gone. I've looked at the Local Government Act, section 101, referring to financial management that promotes the current and future interests of the community. That sets it out. Section 102 provides predictability and certainty about resources and levels of funding. And section 201, contributions policy, community funding. And this is money that has been raised specifically. And if you go back to the Act, which gives standing orders, I just cannot see how the council can take this money. I'm horrified that this has happened. So I just suggest you go back to the Act and realise it does give standing orders. Okay.
So thank you for that, Councillor Gottlieb, but just in regards to that aspect, I don't know enough about that, but what I can let you know is around the decision making for this particular meeting today.
No comment.
Just so you know, that Mayor Len also has his hand up.
Just through the, Mayor Len.
Mayor,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ari, thank you for clarifying that. Ari was asked to give her opinion or decision on whether the Community Board could make a decision on this today. We've discussed this with the governance guidance here, and the Ari is not in a position to give the go-ahead for that decision to be made. However, we've done quite a lot of work behind the scenes as to what we can bring to council, and I will be discussing that with members of the Community Board and councillors later on today, so that we can find a pathway forward. So as far as Community Board is concerned, no, that can't be done today, but we are looking at options.
thank you, Mayor.
If I can raise a matter here, if we have a divergence of opinion, I would move that we make the decision anyway, and then if it gets challenged, it gets challenged, and if that challenge has a legal basis, then we'll accept that. But if it hasn't, then it stands, doesn't it?
With respect, it's not an agenda item and it can't be included in the decision-making process of Community Board. So it's not a difference of opinion. It's whether Community Board can legally go through the process of making a decision in this forum, and the answer is no, it can't.
With respect, Mr. Mayor, we can put it on the agenda.
My guidance is that it can't be. It's not a minor matter, and it can't go on the agenda today. Look, we understand the concern, and we've done a lot of work on the background to this. We understand the concern that Rob Boston has raised, and it's a relevant concern. Everybody at council level and everybody at community level and everybody in the community wants to see this project go forward. We have to do this properly. We have to do it legally, and we are not in a position where we can make that decision at this forum today. Sorry, guys.
Thank you for that, Dean.
Yeah, through the chair, I just have a comment that may reduce some of the urgency around this item. So Rob Boston's letter says that the fund opens on the 19th of July, but that same fund actually closes on the 6th of September. And the decision won't be made until the 15th of December. So that means that the timeframes to prepare a report by the 2nd of August, which would go to council by the 8th of August, would still be in time for Rob to include that.
Yeah, but you can't make that application without that money being secured. He can't make that decision. It doesn't meet the criteria.
But the application closes on the 6th of September, so there'll be a council decision on the 8th of August. So he'll have a whole month of notice.
Okay, if there's a way forward, then I'm suggesting, so yeah.
It just reduces
Wait.
the urgency.
Through the chair, thank you, Dean. Yeah, we are definitely working on this behind the scenes. There's been along the way, there has been some gaps in the timeframe between the first tranche of the funding, 250,000 being allocated, and the accountability on that use of the first tranche and the application for the second part. And some of this, I think, we're still trying to get to the bottom of the details. Some of this was caught up in the middle of storm events and weather events. So at a time when we should have been going through a process of business as usual, there were some gaps in there. And those are the things that we're trying to get to the bottom of. We have the ability to get a report and bring some options to council, and we're looking at that at the moment. Really what I'm trying to do to progress this is let you know two things. First of all, we're working on this to try and find a pathway through, but also to let you know that in terms of what you're doing today at Community Board, we're not in a position to be able to table that and get a decision on it from Community Board. It's not a minor matter. It wasn't on the agenda, and so we have to move it to the next level. And it sounds, from what Dean is saying, it sounds like we've got time to do that. So I'm pretty comfortable we will find a solution that benefits the project and the community. We just need to do it in the right way.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Neil. Any further discussion on that?
Well, can't we just note that we as a community board fully support the funding for the pool, that to go back to the pool to be used, and we just note that unanimously.
Can we do this?
It's just a note.
Anyway,
They're not moving anything. We can make a note. Yeah,
okay. Could that please be noted that the community board is in favour of the money going to the pool?
All right, their money remaining.
Retaining, yeah, but
Thank you, Neil, for that. Andrew, I'm sorry we came across you there. Have you got anything else you wish to add on yours?
No, thank you, no.
All right, thank you for that. Brett, do you wish to speak now?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, board. I wish to talk about the Whangamatā Stormwater Improvement Project. I am the activity manager as the water services manager for council, and Jagdeep Singh is the project engineering project manager under Andrew running the work. Overall, our aim is to investigate, design and install assets that will reduce or mediate stormwater flooding and improve disposal in Whangamatā. So that is why it's called the Stormwater Improvement Project. Progress to date, we have had 2 community and stakeholder engagement meetings. The second one was last week. We have been looking at historical flooding, current issues, getting information from FENS, looking at previous reports, completing some of the analysis. And we've been using 2 major consultants for that. Metis, who are overall consultants for the job, and Hydraulic Analysis, who we had used to do a draft report for us several years ago, and they are completing that. We've also developed an action plan of short-term actions, medium-term actions, technical investigations, and then the long-term improvements. The reason for the action plan is to allow us to try and get some early wins, quick benefits where possible, to try and improve things. It is not an easy solution, but we are trying to work on minimizing issues as they occur while we undertake this, the major improvements. We,
Well, thank you.
We've lost you, Brett.
oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, sorry. It's very good engagement at the stakeholder meetings. We have obviously council, community board, ratepayers association members in there, and we also have brought our consultants in so that they can answer particular questions that come up. And the goal is that when those reports are finalised, they are put through that engagement group, and therefore we have a community agreed response to the actions that we are taking. As of now, we expect that some of our first reports will be issued to the community, the engagement group by late July. And that will be some of the flooding analysis. And then from that, over the next 2 months, we will then start to develop our final improvement plan. There are things, as I said, we are trying to look at, like Williamson Pond, Williamson Park Pond, and what we can do in there to try and get water flowing. And obviously there are other areas like the golf course, etc. So we are only 5% into the project. We anticipate we would start designing final solutions by the end of this year, with the aim to start construction potentially in the 24-25 financial year, based on getting those designs vetted and then issued out to tender, and then starting them somewhere around July next year.
Question?
Yeah, Terry.
Yeah, Brett, thanks for the update. Brett, we spoke about delivering that stormwater modelling for the town sometime. And I just would like to see that also presented to the community board if we could.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic because it's going to go public, but it gives a really good understanding of the community board where the issues are around town. So that'd be great if we could do that. Thank you.
Look, I will go to the engagement board, sorry, through the chairman. I will go to the engagement group first, and once we've agreed on that, then I will formally present that to the community board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Brett, I don't know whether you're aware of the flooding that they had here on the weekend when we had that heavy rain through there, but I put in a request for service for the main road, Port Road, in the vicinity of opposite the 100% hardware, where the drains were flooded, and it was entering or threatening to enter into the buildings along there. It would appear that a number of the shopkeepers have been sweeping their footpath leaves, etc., out into the drains, and they're blocked. So I have put a request for service in for that. But
okay, I'll chase up with Ed because it may go through to roading rather than through to utilities, but we need to include that in our investigation.
thank you. There are a number of, although some of them are below the footpath line, but there are a number of those buildings that we've attended flooding at over the last couple of years.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, just Brett, I struck my head when I saw there was a green down there, no major issues. I'm sure the local people wouldn't think that. Are you referring to the fact that it's processing along as a process rather than there are major issues?
The green is project issues, or project status, not the issues that we are dealing with. So on a project, typically you would indicate we are behind plan or we've got major issues that we are working on. So this is a project status, not a root cause of why we're doing the project status.
Any other comment for Brett? Thank you, Brett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
In relation to the Whangamatā Community Board CapEx work program and operational update, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to approve the CapEx.
Yeah, yes.
Terry mover
Yep. I'll see.
and Neil seconder. Thank you. Aye. All in favour, say aye. Summary we've done.
Action schedule.
Yeah. So next we move to the action schedule. So any comment in relation to any of the matters on here? Do you want to go through them one by one?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
So the Marston Road dump station, it says it's in progress.
Well, don't think so. I think it's been deferred on it, but I don't think they've got enough money for that, Eileen.
Oh, I don't know, sorry, can't answer that.
Well, I think it has been deferred because there's not enough money to do it, so.
Budget's unavailable.
So we're just worried about that second pump station down there that's going to survive.
Yeah.
They did say at the time, AJ, that it was very suspect. Sure, yeah, here's the man.
Yeah, just through the chair, the Martin Road dump station is also the subject of a TIF funding application, Tourism Infrastructure Fund, but the outcome of that will not be known until August. But we took the opportunity to apply for that project.
And remember, just to add to that, sorry, the New Zealand Caravan Association is happy to supply a piece of equipment that is designed to fit in the spot that does all the business. So it's really good that they're prepared to come forward and help us with that. So it's good.
I think it should be noted the concern that that is a temporary fix that on that existing sump now, and that it's a wing and a prayer that it gets through. So that could end up as a red flag very easily if we're not careful. The Moana Brenton Walkway extension. You wish to comment on that? Or?
I would talk about that today. It's about having that piece of stuff down with the storm damage down the bottom.
Yeah. The fire station reserve playground project.
That's been deferred.
Yeah. Just in relation to a comment from that, I don't know if you saw it, there was a program last night about the concern of people in wheelchairs, etc., as to the lack of equipment for people that are incapacitated for the use of these. And there was some pretty good ideas in relation to swings, and they basically want to swing and they basically want to slide. And there were some good ideas that we could look at, so that when the money comes on, I think we should be looking to actually facilitate people that have concerns.
So we go through the chair. I know Eileen, when it gets to that stage, she looks and talks to the locals, and there was a concern from parents about shade down there. Those things will be raised, I'm sure, around those times. So, yeah.
Thank you. Network session update on the Resource Recovery Centre.
Yeah, well, I would like an update on that. It's fantastic to get where we're going with that. We're moving into a $80 million contract with Waste Management, and we want to engage with them around recovery of items and run by the community. So I haven't heard any updates. I know that the strategy will be presented to council in July. So yeah, don't know anymore.
The Martin Road, Aiken Road intersection, this is something that's been on the for quite some time, and there hasn't been a lot of action in relation to that. The work delayed due to cyclone responses, but
yeah, I don't see that come through the work program. That was one that Ed said he would look into and provide some traffic calming down there and take the pedestrian island out because it gets broken all the time from vehicle banging into it. But I don't know any updates on that, sorry.
Where is that one? That's by the electrical one.
Yeah, electrical.
yes,
Which is moving out, aren't they? So
Yeah,
so
so
it might change whatever that building
Well,
is for at the moment as well.
I think it's just too close to that corner intersection. You know, it needs to be either, and he was talking about taking right away and bringing the corners in to slow vehicles down.
Yes.
Some calming that he was talking, but I haven't heard any what's going on.
to carry to Moana, the extension of the footpath, the width of the footpath, and that's to be considered under the long-term plan for path construction. And the Island View stormwater retention pond fencing mitigation plan will remove the risk of the short-term hazard identification signs will be installed.
Yeah, again, through the chair, this is raised at council. Some strong neighbours were concerned about the structure, but I think there is a plan in place, not that I'm aware of exactly how it works, that EPL and that we're working on structuring something in the land so this stormwater pond is spread out or something. Do you know, Arlene? Yeah, so again, I'm guessing, but yeah, but there is some concern around this as a pond and how to make it more of a soakage area. I don't know. So I can't offer any more.
Thank you. And the Island View vehicle beach access widening.
Yeah, so that's, I don't know who put this up, but at the moment, the existing beach access is shut and sand pushed up, and then there's an access a little bit further on for vehicles to go on the beach and put out their kayaks and things like that. Yeah, I don't know how we get that widened or anything like that. Is it not right? Have you heard, Eileen, issues around this? I don't, who put that up? I'm not too sure.
And it gets back to what I raised earlier, it's access to the beaches and the fact that who was the person that is dealing with it, the guy in charge of reserves?
Jamie. Jamie Boyle, but it's also
Derek Summer.
Derek Thompson.
Yeah, it's just, it needs to be looked at because they won't really get that IRD or anything down. We've been through that before, but with the storms and things, it's beaches changed all the time.
So can I just pass the question to Eileen? Have we selected the beach care? Is there a beach care group that's developed out of the discussions that we've had trying to set up those reserves and harbour care on a beach care group?
No,
Okay, so there's no group that goes out planting and does that thing?
well, there is a planting during restoration group that works with Jamie and Andy and them.
Oh, so, yeah, okay, so I just want to flag that little area of that coming up to that built up sand up into that access onto the car park. It's just bare sand and it's going to get blown away. They could look at a planting action right there.
I think Jamie's aware of that because Jamie was the one who did the push up there.
Okay.
Okay, so the suggested resolution is that the action schedule reported date the 31st of May 2023 be accepted. All in favour?
No,
Move.
sorry, I'm against.
Sorry,
I'm against.
you're against it?
Yeah, didn't tell us anything. Half the time, Terry was going to say, I think this might be that. No, we have no solid update of the action planners. I don't accept it.
So your update is actually the comments that are in there. That's the update from staff on those different items.
Yeah, but nothing's happening. It's just.
What happens to an action schedule? Does it fall into the work program if it's actioned? I'm not sure where it fits.
And the work program is for your CapEx projects.
Yeah. So we talked about a planting thing. Is that not a CapEx project?
There would be part of operations within the coastal management team.
This is just to inform us of what's.
These are the things that are raised. And if they're an RFS, then an RFS is loaded, but these are things that you guys raised at the networking session and then we've got an update from the staff. So that update is there is the update that's been given from staff from when the item was raised, which was your last networking session.
So as Mark says, what happens next? When do they become complete?
Well, they'll become complete when the action is done. So like the update on the Resource Recovery Centre, well, the update there, you've got an assessment from the consultant has been delayed and it is expected to be received in the next couple of months. So when that's received and you'll get an update from the solid waste manager. And that will stay in progress until such time as that's received.
Mm-hmm. And the other ones I was querying, are we You chairing them? Are we doing the things?
We're two carrying one anu.
Yeah.
That will be, that's why that's closed, because you'll do it as part of your long-term plan footpath construction budget. And that's come to the, when that comes to the board for them to prioritise the footpaths.
So that could go in there, there's an LTP and then it's closed, is that right?
It's closed now because it will be part of that. Your island use stormwater retention, well, that's what the Parks and Reserves, Parks and Open Spaces team have said. They're looking at what they can be doing in the short term. So your update, those things were raised. This is the update that you've been provided. And when the action is finished, then it will become closed.
I accept what you say, but I think that the actions or the notes are kind of pretty weak and pretty vague, and I'm none the wiser about a lot of the stuff. And but again, if we're out in the community and we're being asked to, well, how the council meeting go, what the board meeting go, what about this, what about that? All we can really go is something's happening, but we don't know. It's pretty weak. The board has been pretty weak in town in terms of getting things done or getting to know what's happening around town.
I agree with that. And we are trying to change that. Yeah, no doubt about that. But yeah, some of the answers seem to just go on from month to month.
We're looking at it.
Any comment on that, Tim?
Yeah, just for the chair, I mean, we can look at the action table and also the work program reports and just look at the level of detail that's provided. There are a lot of activities in the action report that are underway, but they're just not quite ready yet. So maybe we can provide some other examples of that. So for example, the June restoration group that Terry just spoke about, they do have some tentative plans with those groups for the restoration areas. There's a map that I've got up on my screen that shows where those areas will be, where they're not. But the conversation that was started just this morning was about coming to the board at the next opportunity, which would need to be probably the networking now, just to give you an update. So it's just the timing of some of those actions hasn't made it to this agenda.
I don't think it's just for the community board itself either, Dean. I think the information as far as our residents are concerned, ratepayers are concerned, they want to know what's happening, and it would be, I think, advantageous for us to put some sort of publicity in telling people exactly what's under review and what's happening so that they're aware of that, other than just dealing with it at this meeting. Any other comment on that? Okay, so can I have a mover and a seconder for the action plan? Terry move, Neil second, and all in favour? Aye. And Mark abstain.
I'll abstain.
The chair's report is written there. If you're all in agreement, so I'll take the report as being read. If there's no questions, and we need a move and a seconder for it. Much of it's updated as far as meetings and that I've attended and are going to attend. Just remembering this afternoon, we've got the volunteers afternoon from 1 to 2:30 at the Whangamatā Club for that. And just the previous meetings, I think the next one I have is 11th of July, I think, at Whangamatā for their ratepayers meeting. So can I have a mover and seconder to?
Well, you move it, we'll second it.
Well, I'll move that my report be accepted. Yep. All in favour?
Aye.
Thank you.
Can I ask around just quickly around it? So the only amount of visit is to the Ratepayers Association.
Yes.
They were keen to reenact the freedom camping discussion they thought would have a silent view. So we would need to understand that Eileen when that time's around, because they've asked for that meeting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why is only money concerned about Island View?
No, we're looking at Freedom Camping in Island View.
Yeah.
And they've asked to look at their situation over there at the same time.
Right, but that's the one they're saying, well, why haven't we got Freedom Camp?
Yeah, so the opposite. There's some of the community want freedom camping, some don't.
No, that's what I went to that meeting with the people.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, there was 100% and a large number, we don't want freedom camping. And we said, but you can do it up the top. That's a quite freedom camping place.
But there is a group there that's quite strong, run by the Ratepayer Association, that is in favour.
Yeah, well, and there's quite a bit of correspondence that's come through.
No, I've seen that. It just makes me go, wow, that's nothing like.
Yeah.
I was at that meeting on.
Yeah.
And we went and looked at a place they suggested you could have freedom camping.
Freedom play.
Whatever. Anyhow.
But my understanding is you can freedom camp anywhere except where you all out.
That's right.
Yeah, and that was what was pointed out. They could park anywhere except in the area shown in red, the plan.
And that's what we've tried to explain.
Any further discussion on that? If there's not, I'll close the meeting. Thank you all for attending and thank you for the visitors that have attended as well.
Thanks, Dave. Very good.
So,
So.